Okay, cool. So we're gonna get started. So I'm so glad you guys are here. If you can't catch this live, that's totally okay. I am going to be recording it. So I just want to welcome you to the Intermittent Fasting 101. I'm really excited to talk about the ins and outs of fasting with you today because fasting is a free health hack. That's right. Like it requires no money. And so the health benefits you receive are just incredible. So in my eyes, like you have nothing to lose, just only really great things to gain for the better. Today, we're going to talk about the health benefits of fasting. We're going to talk about the different methods, how to get started, what it looks like to break your fast, and then talk specifically to women about fasting because there are some things that you need to tweak depending on what stage of life you are in. And so I know that's going to be some really great information you guys are going to love. Then if you stick around to the end, you can grab a copy of my fasting ebook. So most of what I'll be talking about, I will have shared in the ebook. There's going to be a couple additional perks in there like fitness and fasting. So you want to make sure that you stick around and download that at the end. So just a little bit about me for those who don't know who I am. I'm Cece McClintock. I am the Director of Nutrition at Summit Family Chiropractic, helping both our patients, but then also those in our community with their nutrition, their health, their wellness. I am a certified functional nutritional therapy practitioner. I've completed a host of different certifications within different areas of health. And I'm also continuing my education currently. I'm at the School of Applied Functional Medicine. So I feel super blessed to be a part of the amazing team at Summit here for about 4 years now, a little over 4 years. I'm also blessed with an amazing husband. That's a picture of some of my family. So my amazing husband, I have 3 wonderful teenagers and a big lovable chocolate lab. We live here in Coeur d'Alene and just really love being a part of this wonderful community. So before I get started, this is really important. I want to share why I feel it's so important to talk about fasting and educate people on this topic. You know, over the last few decades, we have seen a surge in chronic disease and conditions like cancer and diabetes and Alzheimer's and autoimmune disease and chronic pain and even infertility. And the CDC recently published that 60% of Americans have one chronic disease, 40% have 2 or more, and 90% of the $1 trillion we spend in healthcare goes to helping people with chronic disease. The common thread is poor metabolic health. And the term metabolic health is often referred to as a person's ability to properly regulate blood pressure, properly regulate blood sugar and cholesterol without any medications. So what's startling and shocking to me is that 88% of Americans suffer from metabolic disease. And that means only 12% of us are metabolically healthy. What you eat, when you eat, can greatly improve your metabolic health. And so this is where fasting can be really, really powerful. And you guys, again, fasting is free, so we should all take part in it. Now, what is fasting? It's not the same as starving yourself. I think that's what quite a few people think when they hear the word fasting. It's not a fad diet. It's literally eating to how your body was designed and created to eat. So when you think back to our ancestors, they were not eating late into the evening because it was dark and they were sleeping. And they weren't eating in the early morning because they had to get up and go find their food. They didn't have access to all the convenient foods that we have. They most likely weren't eating all day long like so many of us do so often. So the definition of fasting is to abstain from food and or liquids for a specific period of time. So you have your hours of the day when you're eating and you have your hours of the day when you're not. Anything above 12 hours without food is considered fasting. So fasting has been around for thousands of years, both as a healing modality and as part of various spiritual and religious practices. And when you don't consume food or calories, the body then looks for other ways to generate energy. So it's going to start drawing on your glucose, which is your sugar stores. And once the glucose is significantly used up, the body's metabolism changes and the body begins to burn fat and fatty acids and stored fat for energy. And when the transition to burning fat for energy is made, the body begins producing ketones and is said to be in a state of ketosis, which I think many of you guys have heard that term before. When you hit ketosis, many health benefits kick in. And these specific benefits, they really vary on how many different hours you're fasting. So these are just some of the many positive benefits you can receive from fasting. This isn't a very like the full extensive list, but these are the ones that I personally feel are the most common to your health issues and a lot of the health goals that my clients have and ways that fasting can support these. So what I want to do is dive into a couple of these really quick, just to paint a really good picture for you as to how fasting can benefit your health. So the first thing, one that I love, is that fasting burns fat. And some of you have seen this before. We shared this at our metabolism makeover and our metabolism dinner, but it's really important to share again. So imagine your body's energy supply is a fuel tank. So the picture that I'm sharing on the left of the screen. At the top of the tank is glucose, or the sugar that's circulating in your blood. In the middle of the tank is your glycogen, which is glucose that is stored in your liver and your muscles. And at the bottom of the tank is the leftover sugar, and that gets stored as fat. So as your body taps into your fuel tank for energy, the tank is depleted from the top down, okay? So what's really powerful is that when you are fasting, or when you really restrict your carbs and go super low carb, the body first burns through excess circulating blood glucose, so that very first level. Then it's going to dip into the stored glycogen, and then finally it's going to tap into your stored body fat. It doesn't completely deplete each source, so you're still going to maintain a little bit in your blood and in your liver and muscles and stored as fat. But what's really powerful is that when you fast, you reduce your carbs like during your eating window. It's just going to help you to keep your blood sugar levels in check. It's going to promote health. It's going to promote a healthy metabolism. It's going to allow your body to use your stored fat as energy. And that's truly, really what we all want, right? So another benefit with fat is that fasting can actually convert the white fat that we're carrying. So in that picture, when you have like that muffin top, that's white fat, okay? So it can convert the white fat into brown fat. So these are the two types of fat tissues we have in our bodies. So we have brown and white. Brown fat burns energy, and that's because it has mitochondria. Mitochondria are these like little energy battery packs inside all of your cells. White fat stores energy. So that is what's keeping us fat. Brown fat's not very common in adults, you guys. It's more predominant when we're little, like those cute little babies that are kind of little chunky, like that's their brown fat. Not common in adults. So the good news is that with fasting and with research sharing with us, we know that when we're fasting, we can convert our white fat to brown fat. So we're going from storing fat to using fat and burning fat for energy. So that's absolutely fascinating to me. Another big benefit is metabolic flexibility. And you guys have heard me talk about this quite a bit recently. Again, if you came to the metabolism makeover, we talked about this topic for quite a while. It's very, very important. We all should be striving to become metabolically flexible. Because when you are metabolically flexible, you can burn carbs when you eat them, you can burn fat when you eat them, or you can burn fat when you're not eating at all. It's amazing because when you're even eating carbs, when you're metabolically flexible, you're not going to have this crazy response with your blood sugar. So your metabolism becomes very flexible. You can use whatever fuel is available, whether it's fuel from food or whether it's the fuel that's stored in your body. And it has some incredible health benefits. So you're going to have sustained energy, you're going to have healthy blood sugar, you're going to have balanced hormones, fewer cravings, improved fat burning. And so intermittent fasting is really one of the best ways to improve metabolic flexibility. Okay, autophagy. I love talking about autophagy. I don't know how many of you are aware of this term. So this is a process when your body sends in what I call little Pac-Men to clean up all the cellular debris and the damaged proteins and any type of like oxidized particles and toxins inside your cells. So it's this amazing process called autophagy. So auto means self and phagy means eating. So it's literally self-eating. So fasting kickstarts this process and it improves the function of our cells. And by accelerating this cleanup process, it helps turn back the aging clock. So I know many of us would like to reverse our aging process, right? So there's many health benefits, such as like reducing inflammation, strengthening our immune system, protecting against cancer. And without autophagy, our cells become very toxic. And that is what leads to aging faster. So we're going to have things like wrinkles, we're going to have poor energy, we're going to have inflammation. So again, this is just another amazing reason to include fasting into your life. Now, mitochondrial health, I'm sure you've heard this term before. I just briefly mentioned a little bit about mitochondria, and I really want to talk about this area of health because many of my clients have come to me with poor energy. We've done lots of testing, and we really take a look at how their body is making mitochondria. So what are mitochondria? They are literally the battery packs inside our cells that provide energy for the body to function, and also for you to feel like you have energy. So the mitochondria take oxygen and the food we're eating and they turn it into energy. Now, because you have cells all over your body, when you have mitochondrial dysfunction, and that means that you aren't creating energy, it can have effect in different areas. So if the mitochondria and the cells of the heart aren't working correctly or they're dysfunctional, you can have heart issues. Fasting keeps the mitochondria healthy and even helps to create new ones. So fasting does this in a few different ways. One that is super important is that fasting increases sirtuins. And I don't know if you've heard that term before, but they ensure that your cells are working at their best. They also regulate fat. They regulate your glucose metabolism. They fight inflammation. They boost energy. They increase alertness. They repair our DNA, which is pretty amazing. Our body is amazing, don't you think? So gut health, this is one of my favorite areas to talk about. If you have an unhealthy digestive system, you are going to be unhealthy, period. Your gut is that important. So there are two main reasons why I love fasting for gut health. First is that most people don't realize that they are living with leaky gut. So our gut lining is only one cell thick. It has very small openings that allow nutrients from food and the supplements we take to get into our bloodstream, and they get shuttled around to our cells. And over time, due to things like constant eating, the standard American diet, toxins, antibiotics, undigested foods, gluten, sugar, our microvilli, which protect our gut lining, they just start to wear down. And then those small openings become very large, like you can see on the right-hand side of the photo up above on the screen. This is when the gut becomes leaky and things that shouldn't pass through do. And now you are creating an inflammatory response in the body or the brain or the gut. So think of it like a screen in your window. There are small openings, right, that let the air through and maybe some dust particles come through, and that's good. But when you have a hole in the screen, bugs and bees can get through, and that's what you don't want, right? So that's the same with your gut. Now, research has told us that after about 24 hours, your body is going to stimulate the production of stem cells. And what they're going to do is they're going to go in and they're going to repair the gut lining. And they're going to protect your GI tract from any type of age-related diseases and help build up a good mucosal lining. So really get in there and help seal up the gut lining and heal any type of leaky gut that may have occurred. We also know that studies have shown that our gut, our digestive system, has its own circadian rhythm. And what this means is that different bacteria are going to grow and thrive at different times of the day. So when we're sleeping and fasting, there's one set of healthy bacteria that are going to start to thrive. And then when we're awake and we're eating, there's another set of bacteria that are going to thrive. And so it's like this cycle, and it repeats every 24 hours. So overall, fasting is very supportive to helping to ensure that you have a good, healthy gut. Okay, chronic inflammation. Fasting reduces chronic inflammation. So chronic inflammation is the root cause of disease, you guys. Cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and more. You can see some of the ones that I've shared. Research shows that during fasting, the inflammatory cells, which are called monocytes, are less active in the body and fewer are released into the bloodstream. So this means that the inflammatory response naturally is just dialed down, which is great. But what's even more amazing is that fasting helps prevent the release of free radicals. Free radicals are very destructive. They attack the cells of our body. They cause oxidative stress, which is just like the rusting of our cells. Now, free radicals, they're created through just like normal metabolic processes. They're even created through good things like exercise, but they're also created when we have exposure to toxins and poor functioning of our mitochondria. And they are the cause and the result of inflammation, which is the crazy part. So the cellular damage from free radicals creates inflammation, but inflammation also generates lots of free radicals. So it's like this vicious cycle. But the good news is that when you're fasting, you're going to squelch those free radicals. So I believe this is one of the best benefits of fasting. I work with a lot of clients that have very high levels of inflammation. They have poor functioning mitochondria and high oxidative stress. And we know this because we test them. We see that they have really low levels of antioxidants and high amounts of free radicals. And so fasting has been very beneficial to people in helping to reduce chronic inflammation. Okay, so hormones. There are a lot of different types of hormones. So you've got your hormones that affect weight loss. You have your female hormones. What I really want to talk about are the ones that affect weight loss today. So when we get older, unfortunately, our hormones shift. I think we've experienced this. Many of us have. So we start to lose muscle. Fat builds up, especially in places like our waist, our hips, our thighs. We start to favor more fat over muscle, and hormone imbalances make it really hard to lose weight and to keep it off. And this is where fasting can be very beneficial. There's two hormones that play a big role in weight loss, and that's leptin and ghrelin, and these are what we call the hunger hormones. So leptin is our satiety hormone. When it's working properly, you can eat to satisfaction and you're not going to crave foods. And I think that's really awesome. There are some great benefits too. So leptin helps turn white fat into brown fat, which we want more of. It controls blood pressure. It helps with thyroid function. So to all you ladies with thyroid, hypothyroid, this is really important. And it helps the menstrual cycle too. So the problem is that many people have poor metabolic health and have leptin resistance. So leptin resistance, it's a vicious cycle again. When the more you eat, the additional fat you store, and the less sensitive you become to leptin. And the side effects of leptin resistance are poor thyroid health, a slow metabolism, and elevated blood pressure. It's the opposite of what the benefits of leptin are. So fasting is going to increase the amount of leptin you have. So fasting is going to also help with leptin resistance. Now, ghrelin is the hunger hormone. So it stimulates your appetite, and it's going to promote fat storage. It's the opposite of leptin. And fasting lowers the ghrelin levels. So in other words, fasting is going to make you want to eat less, but you're going to feel more full. And for me, I feel like that is a winning combination. Okay, so the different types of fasting. Hopefully this is going to be some really great new information for you guys. Feel free to screenshot any of these slides that I'm sharing. I'll talk a little bit about this in the ebook too, but this is the really cool part. Just look at all these amazing health benefits that start to happen. We're going to go over them, but I get this question asked often. So how long should I fast? And that really depends on what health benefits you're hoping to achieve. So the longer you fast, the more benefits you're going to receive, but there definitely is a catch, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So these are just the different types of fasts that many people can choose from. Most often, I personally am recommending intermittent fasting, which is 13 to 16 hours, or a 24-hour fast or a 36-hour fast. And that all just depends on what my clients' health issues are and what their health goals are, and if they've ever fasted before. So like I said, the longer you go, the more health benefits you're going to receive. So just quickly going over this, at 13 to 16 hours, this is again what we consider intermittent fasting. And if you're new to fasting, this is where I really recommend that you start. So at 13 hours of fasting, your body's going to start to secrete the growth hormone, which is really great because this assists us in burning fat and slowing down the aging process. When we hit the 15-hour mark, this is when most people begin to make ketones. So ketones are a sign that your liver has moved from burning sugar to burning fat for energy. So you can also experience things like increased energy and an increased mood. The 17 to 24-hour fasting window, you start to experience cellular repair. You start to have benefits for detoxification, cancer prevention, gut repair. It aids with anxiety and depression, and even brain and memory loss. And at 17 hours, that's truly when you start to stimulate autophagy. So if you remember, I said that that's when your cells send in those little Pac-Men to clean up the toxins and debris, and your cells start to repair themselves. So this can be really beneficial, especially for people that have autoimmune conditions. When you get into the 24-hour fast, that's when, as I shared, you start to produce more stem cells. And so the intestinal cells reboot, and they can go in and start repairing the leaky gut if you have a leaky gut. GABA production also occurs. GABA is a neurotransmitter that's known to help our brain to relax and help with anxiety. So at 24 hours, this is really when I tell people that the benefits of gut health starts to occur. At a 36-hour fast, which, the more you fast, the more it's going to force you into burning glucose and insulin and getting rid of the toxins that are stored in your fat. But I always say that it's better to have fat around your muscles than around your organs. And so the length of your fast will force your body to burn stored glucose and insulin. And so this is really where you start to see the fat loss. This is really where you start to see the anti-aging benefits and then the increase in dopamine. But again, there's a catch, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Now, 48-hour fast, at 48 hours, this is where you begin to reset your dopamine receptor sites. And then at 72 hours, this is a 3-day fast. These can be used for people with severe injuries and severe diagnoses that want to reboot their entire immune system and really start to heal. So at 72 hours, the stem cells for the immune system start to regenerate. But I caution people, you guys, you have to listen to your body. You need to work with a doctor or professional. This fast isn't something that you'd ever want to just jump into. So if you've never fasted before, the last thing I recommend is that you do a 48 or a 72-hour fast. You need to move into it slowly. So that's the catch, okay? So you need to work up to a fast that's longer than 16 hours. And I'm going to talk more about how to do this here in just a few minutes. And as you fast longer, say 36 hours, there is a chance that you could start to lose some lean muscle mass. So it is important to work with someone like myself or a doctor so we can really help support you to ensure that that doesn't happen. And then also your body's going to get used to functioning in a fasted state. And so that means that it's going to get comfortable and you might hit a plateau. And so a lot of people will come to me and say, Cece, I've hit a plateau. I've been fasting for months. I don't understand. It worked so great for me and now it's not working anymore. And so if you've been fasting for a while, and you especially using the same fasting schedule, you're going to want to switch it up. So maybe you need to throw in a 24-hour fast, like once a month or every 2 weeks. Or maybe you need to do a 36-hour fast, like once in a while. Or maybe you need to do a 16-8 fast, intermittent fasting, which I love, for 5 days. And then you take 2 days off. So your body is going to get used to whatever it is you're doing, even the way that you're eating. So switching things up is really beneficial. Okay, I hope you guys are learning quite a bit so far. Where to start? Okay, here's the important part. Before you start fasting, if you haven't already, I highly suggest you work on stabilizing your blood sugar. So take a few days to start stabilizing your blood sugar. What that means is I would work to decrease the processed and refined flours that you're eating. So things like crackers and breads and pastas and cookies. I highly recommend you switch out your bad fats and oils for healthy fats and oils. So you need to ditch the canola oil, the soybean oil. Obviously, when you switch out the processed and refined flours, that's going to help remove some of those bad fats and oils. But read labels. Really look for anything that is outside of avocado oil, coconut oil, and olive oil. And then increase the consumption of good fats. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefits of good fats here in just a minute. And then lastly, make a game plan. Don't just like go into this thinking that you're going to just all of a sudden start 16-8 fast for like a month. Like make a game plan, because if you don't plan, and you're not gonna succeed. You're gonna hit a wall, I promise you. So you want to make a fasting schedule and plan for it. Okay, so how do you start? If you're new to fasting, what I really recommend after you've taken a few days or a week to stabilize your blood sugar is I recommend starting with a 12-hour fast. And 12 hours, again, is truly when fasting begins. So you could do a schedule where you eat your first meal at 7 and you have your last meal, your first meal at 7 a.m. and you have your last meal at 7 p.m. And you can do this for a few days, or you can do it for a week. And then you're going to push out your breakfast a little bit, and you're going to have your first meal at 8 and then your last meal by 6. So now you're at 14 hours of fasting, okay, with a 10-hour eating window. And you can do this for a few days. And then you're going to push it out a little bit further, and you're going to have your first meal at 10 a.m. and your last meal by 6 p.m. And so now you're at the 16-8 fasting schedule. So you have 16 hours of fasting and an 8-hour eating window. Now, again, you can do all of this within a week, or you can move slowly and go from a 12-hour fast to a 16-hour fast. There's no like hard and fast rule. You just need to figure out what works best for you. But I do highly recommend that you work yourself into it. Now, another important fact is eating to your circadian rhythm. And I don't know how many of you guys have heard about this. I again, talk about this a little bit in the clinic. The best signals that your body gets for when it's daytime, and your body releases your daytime hormones that produce energy, versus when it's nighttime and your body's releasing its nighttime hormones to get into a state of rest, healing, and repairing, the best signals come from light and food. And our bodies are so confused by both of these things right now, because we sit under artificial light into the late evening. So our bodies are confused on whether it should be releasing the daytime or the nighttime hormones, right? And then many of us are eating late into the evening. So again, our bodies are confused. They're like, what's going on? You're giving me signals that it's daytime because you're giving me all this energy from this food you just ate. But instead, you're supposed to be relaxing and winding down and becoming tired so that you can sleep and get into the state of healing and repairing. And so eating to your circadian rhythm is really important. This means you need to end your eating window 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. So the earlier you can move up your dinner, the better it's going to be for your body. So this means eating at like 6 or 6:30, because most people go to bed around 9:30. Now I know this isn't always feasible. I get it. I have kids that are in sports. I know it's really hard sometimes, or you go out with friends and it's a later dinner, but this is something for you to consider. And if you can do this more times than not, you're just going to reap the health benefits from it. So the more you can do it, the better it's going to be for you. Okay. Okay. So what can you have during a fast? There's a lot of information out there on what is considered breaking your fast and what's acceptable to have during fasting. I pretty much just go down to fasting is when you don't have food or drink, and eating is when you do. And so these are my recommendations. I feel like this is a much cleaner way of fasting. So really what you're trying to do is you're trying to avoid any type of spike in blood sugar, which food is going to do that. So obviously when you're fasting, you don't want to be eating, okay? And I wouldn't eat gum either, or chew gum. Sorry, you don't eat gum. I wouldn't chew gum either because there's usually sugar or artificial sweeteners in there, and that's going to spike an insulin or glucose response. Drinks are very, very important. When you're fasting, you want to make sure you're staying hydrated, but it's important to avoid any type of a drink that has artificial sweeteners. So just the sweetness, that taste of artificial sweeteners is going to cause a rise in your insulin. So sucralose and saccharin are like the worst offenders. Stevia is okay. So my recommendations are that you stick to filtered water, mineral water, sparkling water. You can drink organic decaf and regular black coffee. I actually like to put some salt in my coffee when I'm fasting and drinking it black. I just think it tastes a little bit better. Unsweetened organic teas, and then apple cider vinegar. You guys, I tell everybody to drink apple cider vinegar. If you dilute 1 tablespoon in some water and drink it, it's going to help you burn fat. It's going to promote a healthy digestion as well. And then electrolytes. Electrolytes are very important. They're amazing during fasting as long as there are no artificial or regular sweeteners in them. What they do is they help you to balance your sodium, your potassium, your magnesium, and your chloride, which get flushed when we're fasting. And they get flushed when we're doing a low carb style of eating. So drinking electrolytes is really going to help you stay hydrated at a cellular level. It's going to help increase energy. It's going to help with any type of headaches you might have during fasting and really help with those cravings. So my favorite brands are the brand called Element, LMNT, which you have to get online, or the brand Ultima, which you can get any of the grocery stores here in Coeur d'Alene. You guys can even get it at Walmart. Supplements. Will supplements break a fast? I get asked this question often. Some of them definitely will. Some of them will not be beneficial. The supplements that I've listed here are some that you can take that won't break your fast. But again, you want to avoid supplements if you can, especially those that have sugar or artificial sweeteners, and definitely any type of supplement that has 20 or more calories. So this even includes like protein powder and collagen. And you don't want to take any supplement that you need to be taken with food is kind of my rule of thumb. So the ones that are listed, personally, I believe will not break a fast. But anything else most likely will. So depending on how clean you want to be with your fast, these are my recommendations, okay? So let's talk about specifics for women. This is really important. This is an area where I don't think a lot of women really know about. So actually, did I skip a slide here? No, I didn't. Okay. Oh, I did, you guys. I'm going to go through here. Oh, one of my big slides came out. Okay, so I want to talk about, sorry, something happened to my slides. I want to talk about quickly, before we talk about fasting for women, I want to talk about what you should be eating when you break your fast, because this is really important. When you break your fast, you want to do it with healthy protein and fat. And so what you want to do is avoid anything that, again, is going to spike your blood sugar and flood your body with glucose. So you just, like when you fasted, you worked so hard to reduce the glucose stores and to really tap into fat burning. And so you don't want to ruin all of that with what you eat in your first meal. So you can have some carbs. I would just recommend that they're low starchy vegetables or fruits, but I highly recommend you don't eat something like going and getting a yummy latte at Starbucks or having like a bagel. Nutrient density is really important, and what you eat during your eating window is still very important if you want to have health, okay? So limit your snacking if possible. When you are fasting and you have a smaller eating window, you don't want to be eating every few hours because this will still cause you to be like on the blood sugar roller coaster. So your insulin and cortisol are still going to be released and going up and down, and your digestive system is not going to get a break. So if you can, limit to just one snack if needed, and it's just going to be better for your health. And then my recommendation for building your plate is that you focus on what I call the PFF. So that's healthy protein, healthy fats, and fiber. So protein has a minimal impact on blood sugar. And so it's going to help you feel satisfied. It's going to control your cravings. It's going to help you maintain a lean body mass, which is so important, especially if you do longer fasts. And then healthy fats are very satiating. They have they won't spike your blood sugar at all, and they're going to help you to burn fat. And then fiber is very important for your digestion and slowing down the absorption of any glucose that you get into the bloodstream from any type of carbs you have. So you want to focus on low starchy fruits and vegetables if possible. And you want something, if you do want something that's a little higher in starch, that's fine. I just recommend that you pair it with some healthy protein and fat. Okay, so now let's talk about women. So this is really important. There's different stages. So for a woman who has not yet hit perimenopause, who still is having her cycle and wants to have children, you need to cycle your fast to your menstrual cycles so that you don't mess up your hormones and you don't stop your cycle. And I'm going to talk more specifics about this here in a minute and kind of give you a little schedule. And it's also in the ebook. But when you are between 35 to 50 years old, at some point within those years, you're going to hit that perimenopause stage of life, okay? And you are going to still want to track your cycle. You may have a 28 or a 30-day cycle for several years before it actually starts to slow down and then it completely stops. So following the recommendations that I give for a cycling woman is a great place to start, which again, I'm going to share in just a second here. But I want to point out that a longer fast, which is anything greater than 17 hours at the wrong time for someone who's going through perimenopause can really cause problems. And so what happens is that at the age of 40, we start to lose progesterone and we become very sensitive to cortisol. And so if you go into a longer fast, when your body is trying to make progesterone, and you have lots of stressors in your life, because we women at the age of 35 to 50, we have a lot of stress in our life. What's going to happen is you're going to tank your progesterone. And then you're going to have those symptoms of perimenopause that are going to drive you crazy, okay? So what I highly recommend is that in the perimenopause stage and with fasting, you just want to pay attention to your symptoms. If you start having anxiety or if you start having sleep issues, which yes, most women do hit this period where they have insomnia, it's a real thing, or maybe you start spotting, like this is a great time to just stop fasting. And it's totally okay. It's not going to mess anything up by stopping your fast. You need to listen to your body and give the body a break. Reduce that stress. Now, for postmenopausal women, which is typically 50 years and older, fasting is a lot easier. And you may still have some like symptoms of menopause. So most often women in postmenopause still struggle to lose weight, and that's because our estrogen decreases, so we become more insulin sensitive. Some women still have hot flashes. But this is the period of time when women can benefit the most from fasting, and it's much, much easier to do. So for postmenopause, my recommendation is to do a weekly variation of fasting, what I call the 5-1-1 or the 5-2. So the 5-1-1 is when you have 5 days of like a 16-8 fast, and then you have 1 day of a longer fast, and then you take a day off. Or you can do the 5-2, which is where you have 5 days of a 16-8 fast, and then you take 2 days off. So the days off of fasting are, again, going to help to support progesterone. so that you are just going to help balance your hormones better. Hopefully this is making some sense for you. So this is a good fasting schedule. This is what I recommend if you are still still have your cycle, you want to have a baby, you're still in that childbearing age, or you're into that perimenopause stage and you still have your cycle. I just want to point out that these are just recommendations. Please know you are a unique individual, and so there are no like hard fast rules. You just need to listen to your body. So it's important to cycle fasting to when your hormones hit their peak, because this is when fasting is really hard. When your hormones are at the highest, that's when fasting is the hardest. So when your hormones on the flip side go into the lowest setting, in the lowest levels, this is when fasting can feel much better and be really beneficial. So we want to support the peaks at ovulation and then again right before your cycle starts. So when you start your period, so we're going to say that's like day 0 to 7, your hormones are really low. And this would be a great time to do like a 16-8 fast. And then if you're ready for it, you can also do a longer fast, like a 24-hour fast. But as your hormones start to ramp up in that second week, and when you start to hit ovulation, which you can see the spike on the graph, it's best to start extending your eating window. And so that means it would be better to do like a 14-10 fast or a 12-12 fast. Then again, around day 14, when your hormones drop again, you can ramp up your fasting back to a 16-8 schedule. But what's really important is that when you're at like the 3-week point, and that's the week before your period starts again, it's really best to slow down fasting again and then just stop for a few days, give your body a break. Again, this is when your body's trying to make progesterone and it's very vulnerable to cortisol, so we don't want to add any stressors to the body and we don't want to raise cortisol. So even though fasting is really healthy, this is not the best time to fast, okay? Hopefully this makes sense to you. So you just want to cycle your fasting to support your hormones and the different stages of menstruation and to really support the body's ability to become pregnant and have a healthy cycle. So I'm going to start to wrap this up. I love this graphic. This is, I'm just a very visual person. So I thought this might be a really good reminder of all the amazing benefits from fasting. So you can look from left to right, the difference obviously in the body composition and all of the benefits. So when you're fasting and you're eating in that shorter window, you're focusing again on like good protein, avoiding like late night meals, you're going to reap the benefits. So you're going to reduce your inflammation, you're going to reduce your blood sugar, you're going to reduce insulin, you're going to start burning fat, you're going to reduce your cholesterol, you're going to reduce your hunger. And that's just to name a few of them. So I just feel like that's super, super powerful. So again, I kind of went quickly. I shared a lot of information. What I'm going to do now is share the link to the ebook. So just give me a second here. I'm going to drop this into the comments. And what it is, so it's a link, and what it will do is give you access to the ebook, and then you'll want to make sure that you download. So click on the link and download the ebook to like your laptop or your phone or your iPad so that you have it saved. And then you can always go back to this link if you need it again. But in the ebook, I'm just sharing quite a bit of what I shared in the webinar. I'm also sharing that fasting schedule for women, plus a few tips for when you're working out, so incorporating your fitness and your fasting. You guys, I'm so glad that you joined me today. I know it was a lot of information. If you have any questions, absolutely comment below. I'll take a few minutes to try to answer some questions if you have them. If not, if you comment, I will get back to your comments and answer them. And then I do also want to share we are all individually unique. And so many people, we just have different health goals and health issues. And so if you're looking for some guidance, I would just love to help you. So I have a special offer. You can schedule a consultation with me that includes recommendations based off of functional systems analysis that I would have you fill out, which basically is an online health history. And then I'm going to review it. I'm going to give you some really good recommendations during the consultation to help you reach your health goals, and then just also share other ways that I might be able to support you. And so normally for a consultation with me, it's $100. Again, you get to, I review the functional systems analysis and give you recommendations, but today for watching the webinar, it's only $47. So I'm going to put a link again into the comments, and you can take advantage of this special. We can meet in person, so you can come into the clinic, or we can also do a consult over the phone. I know oftentimes people live far away, like Belinda. Belinda, you're still in Indiana, right? So if you're interested, click on this link that I'm going to drop in here. Hopefully it'll go through. Technology is not always my friend, you guys. Okay, so you can click on that link, and what you'll do is you'll prepay for the consult, and then you're going to receive a text message with a link to fill out the functional systems analysis, and then I will also work to get you on my schedule as well. So that is it. I'm so excited you guys joined me. I really hope that you learned something new. There was a slide missing. I'm so bummed out. So I'm gonna make sure that I get that in here and redo it so that you guys can have it if you would like. But I just wish you guys all the best in your health, and know that we are totally here to support you, and look forward to sharing more great content and information with you in the future. Okay, it looks like there aren't really any questions. Oh, Mercedes. Oh, your Eleanor's sister. I love her. I love that you guys are working on this together. Super cool. Okay, you guys, well, I'll jump back in and see if there's any additional questions throughout the rest of the day and answer them. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see y'all later.